Fallout has always worked as satire, probably because war is rarely amusing. It's not funny stuff, the horrors of nuclear Armageddon, never-ending conflict, and the insane groups that support it. There has been a lot of truly dark stuff in the 2 episodes of Season 2 that we have already seen, the kind of material that transforms people and helps them recognize who they are, or are not. War never changes, as this franchise has long claimed, and it's true. However, Episode 3, The Profligate, focuses mostly on how people adapt during times of war. It's also the reason it functions. I'm reminded of how painful it was to cover Season 2 of The Last of Us or any episode of The Acolyte. However, the discourse is even more ridiculous than usual because it's difficult to argue that Fallout isn't a very good TV show unless you're extremely precious about lore details. This has become the show that dorks on the internet have made their new nitpicking mission. But occasionally, that gets lost in the shuffle. Both the Season 2 debut and the follow-up felt overly ambitious. Here, the suffering of Lucy, the ghoul, and Maximus comes back into focus. The ghoul is remembering the man he once was, Maximus is initiating a war, and Lucy must realize that being kind isn't enough to survive, not without compromise. If that's any comfort, it's for the right reasons. At first, however, we check in with Thaddeus, who is now firmly a ghoul and operates a bottle cap factory where a mix of ghoul and non-ghoul youngsters work 22 hours a day in unending gratitude that they are still alive despite all odds. Although it's not immediately apparent how this relates to any of the aforementioned ongoing storylines, don't worry, we'll figure it out. Meanwhile, Lucy continues to be held captive by Caesar's Legion, a humorous Roman-themed group that isn't really Roman in whatever they do because, aside from costume, they consistently mispronounce the word Caesar and misunderstand customs. She also encounters Macaulay Culkin, who plays Lacerda Leggett, a superior who is in a good position to give the audience an explanation of some of the specifics. To put it simply, a civil war is raging. When the first Caesar passed away, he scribbled down his successor's name, which is now in his pocket. But the false Caesar and his supporters are protecting the pocket. There is a deadlock. Lucy's moral and historical preaching ultimately results in her crucifixion since she is unprepared to handle this conflict. Leggett may not be able to name Caesar correctly, but he is correct that the most significant vector in history is strength. Lucy is discovering that her kindness is insufficient. It is not well received in the wasteland. She will eventually have to make some compromises, no matter how hard she tries to be fair and well-meaning. The ghoul, who has long since learnt this lesson, must now learn another in reverse. Maybe Lucy's humanity, which he once embodied as Cooper Howard, an ex-Marine movie star attempting to save the world from Robert House, isn't as useless as he believes. In Fallout Season 2, Episode 3, the ghoul's perspective alternates between the past, at an American Legion fundraiser attended by his friend Charlie and House himself, who calls Charlie a pinko in the restroom, a somewhat archaic derogatory term for left-leaning liberals. We now refer to them as snowflakes, and the present, in the immediate aftermath of the rat scorpion attack that left him sidelined last week. The ghoul has decided that he will most likely need Lucy, so he and Dogmeat go out to save her. They stop by an abandoned country club where only a robot named Victor is present. Victor tells that the Legion quit fighting the New California Republic in favor of killing each other. Oh, and the slopes are home to Rangers. Rodriguez and Biff, who have been shut off from reinforcements for more than 10 years and are now surrounded by the Legion, turn out to be the remaining members of the NCR. The ghoul's arc is reduced to a single binary choice in their situation. It's a lot like Fallout. The ghoul can either sell the NCR to the Legion in order to gain Lucy's release, or he can assist the soldiers, whose cause he once supported, in informing their unit that they are still out there. He decides on the latter. Or so it appears. He recalls Charlie's speech at the American Legion, which was mostly aimed at him as a reminder of his own bravery and the larger good, in this case, taking out House, which he's trying to avoid doing, while Lucy and the ghoul are reunited as a result of the ghoul's good deed. Charlie gives Cooper the commemorative lighter he received for his bravery, implying that Cooper deserves it more. Cooper still carries it as the ghoul. Additionally, he uses it to light a cache of explosives at the Legion's headquarters, escalating their civil war. They won't pursue the remnants of the NCR if they're still too preoccupied with battling one another. Now for Fallout Season 2's most controversial plot, Maximus and the Brotherhood of Steel. Paladin Xander Harkness's last-minute entrance has made the clerical leadership even less resolute than usual. Elder Quintus is completely at a loss for what to do, despite the Brotherhood's founder Roger Maxon's supposedly motivational tales. Maximus is expelled from the conference after his proposal to murder Xander is ridiculed. Given everything, it should come as no surprise that Maximus and Xander seem to get along. Xander does a fantastic job of pointing out Elder Quintus's inconsistencies, most notably that a rebellion breeds chaos, while the Brotherhood of Steel is clearly committed to combating chaos. Xander's declared desire to prevent violence obviously persuades Maximus. It is rather appealing to simply give him the cold fusion. However, this purportedly pacifistic theory is tested when Maximus and Xander are out in the latter's vertibird reacting to some unauthorized activity. Fallout Season 2, Episode 3 returns to the opening in this manner. Thaddeus's warehouse is the site of the illegal operations. In accordance with the Brotherhood's regulations, Xander divides the children into two groups, humans and ghouls, and gets ready to kill the ghouls for being abominations. Maximus, however, is unable to have it. He does the only thing he can do after failing to persuade Xander that these are just kids. He uses the super sledge weapon to break Xander's head in, killing him and possibly igniting a conflict.